Alright, this lesson is titled Constant of Proportionality. Recall that two quantities, x and y, have a proportional relationship if y is always a constant multiple of x. This constant multiple y over x is called the constant of proportionality. If x and y have different units, then the constant of proportionality can be written as the unit rate.
There is one brick with length 20 centimeters. The proportion total length to number of bricks is 20 to 1, so the constant of proportionality, or unit rate, is 20. There are now two bricks with length 40 centimeters. The proportion total length to number of bricks is 40 to 2, so the unit rate is 20. There are now three bricks with length 60 centimeters. The proportion is 60 to 3, so the unit rate is 20. There are now four bricks with length 80 centimeters. The proportion is 80 to 4, so the unit rate is also 20. There are now five bricks with length 100 centimeters. The final proportion is 100 to 5, so the unit rate is also 20. The constant of proportionality is 20 centimeters per brick.
Okay, so we can make a little note here. The constant multiple is equal to y over x. I guess we could also say that's our equivalent ratios. It's called the constant of proportionality. And it's also always equal to the unit rate. So if we know any one of these things, we know all the others. We're always going to see the same number reappearing and reappearing in these proportional situations. Okay, the weight of the stack depends on the number of books in the stack. So the weight of the stack is the dependent variable. Identify the constant proportionality for the situation. Then use the constant proportionality to find the weight of 11 books. Okay, so if we want to find the constant proportionality, we learned that we can just calculate the unit rate. We always do the dV over the IV. And we've seen that the weight of the stack is our dependent variable. And the number of books would affect that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books. And to get the constant of proportionality, we would just need to know what the unit rate is, how much for one book. In order to find that, we would divide by 9. We could do this by hand, but we could also use a calculator to kind of speed things up. 1.75 pounds per book. So 1.75 is our constant of proportionality. We can use this to find, so there's one answer. We can use this to find the weight of 11 books. So if we know the unit rate, we have learned that it is very helpful If we want to know the weight of 11 books, we just multiply this 1.75 times 11. $19.25. So there's our second answer. Each shoebox is the same height. The height of the display depends on the number of shoeboxes in one column of shoeboxes. So the height of the display is the DV. What is the constant of proportionality? Go ahead and pause the video. See if you can do it all by yourself. Right, we would want to do the DV over the IV always. So the height of the display depends on the number of shoeboxes in one column. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To get the constant proportionality, we want to know how high for one box. That would be 9 inches. So 9 is our constant of proportionality, and we're done. You have a recipe that calls for 2 cups of flour to make 3 dozen cookies. Your friend has a cookie recipe that calls for 3 cups of flour to make 60 cookies. Are the constants of proportionality the same for the 2 recipes? Okay, so we would want to know, obviously the number of cookies would depend on how many cups of flour we have. We want to know how many cookies can we make with 1 cup of flour. So 3 dozen, that would be 36 cookies. For 2 cups of flour. So to find the unit rate or constant proportionality, we should divide by 2. That would give us 18 cookies for 1 cup of flour. Your friend has a cookie recipe that calls for 3 cups of flour to make 60 cookies. To get the constant proportionality, we would want to find the unit rate. So that would be 20 cookies for 1 cup of flour. Are the recipes for the same cookie? Obviously not. We have a different requirement of how much flour will be used, and we can see that the constants of proportionality are not the same. You run on a treadmill daily at a constant speed. On Monday, you ran 2.25 miles in 22.5 minutes. On Tuesday, you ran 2.35 miles in 25 minutes. Are the constants of proportionality the same for the 2 days? DV over IV. Usually time is always independent, and so time is usually always in the denominator, just as a little tip. To get the constant of proportionality for each, we would want to find the unit rate. So how many miles can we go in 1 minute? Let's use a calculator. Whoa. 2.25 divided by 22.5 gives us 0.1 mile, a tenth of a mile in 1 minute. All right, and we could do the next day. Find the constant of proportionality, aka unit rate. Oh gosh, pen. Divide by 25, divide by 25. 0.094. So not quite a tenth of a mile. So we would say no. We can see that the unit rates are not exactly the same. They're close, but they are not the same. The table shows the amount of money raised based on the number of tickets sold for a charity concert. Does the table show a constant of proportionality? Okay, so we've learned that it's got to have either equivalent ratios, y over x, or it needs to have a constant multiple. Well, we could just kind of test them out. Money on top. Let's see, we could just kind of want to start reducing this. Oops, come back. And that would be what? 5, 6, 7, 8. Reduce this more. Reduce this more. We get a ratio of 45 halves. 45 halves, if we make it a mixed number, 2 goes into 45. Well, 2 goes into 4 2 times, 2 goes into 5 2 times. Then you'd have what? 1 left over of 2, so 22 and a half. So that would need to be our constant multiple, 22.5. And I would have to work on every row here. Let's test it. Okay, so we know it works on the first row. That's the multiple we found. It works on the next row. It works on the third row. All right, so we do have a constant multiple. It's that value of y over x. It's the same every time. We had to check it on every row. So yes, and we'd say the constant proportionality is that constant multiple of 22.5 or 22 and a half. You can sell no more than 2,500 tickets for the concert. Find the maximum amount of money the fundraiser can raise. Well, there's a couple ways we can think about this. If we added this to our table, 2,500 tickets, we could just use our constant multiple and get our money. $56,250. Another way to think about this, though, is that constant proportionality, remember, that's our unit rate. So it's $22.50 for one ticket. Oh, goodness. So if we wanted to know how much for 2,500 tickets, we would just multiply by 2,500, which is what we did. And we got $56,250 as our second answer there for part B. The table shows the time it takes to pump gasoline based on the number of gallons pumped. What is the constant of proportionality for this situation? Well, if we try y over x, or y divided by x, we get 136 over 17. Let's just try that. 136 divided by 17.